Hi, I'm Tim and welcome to Mount Overt and Fast Tracks, and we're just going to do a quick video today showing how we produce our strip wood and basswood sheets and get them ready for shipping. Our two main products are produced from Good timing. We'll keep that in. So our two main products are produced from either white pine or basswood. We use white pine for all our railroad ties and basswood to produce our strip wood and sheets. Typically we have quite a big pile of it here, but we're a bit on the low side. We bring this in from a local supplier. We order about 1,000 board feet at a time, and it comes in rough cut, kiln dried, and from there we work it all the way through to the finished products that we sell. So in addition to pine and basswood, we also use a lot of plywood. The plywood is used for the Fast Tracks products, quick sticks, sweep sticks, various things like that. We bring it in 2 or 3 times a year. We have a skid flown in from Finland, the mill where they produce it, and it's quite heavy. It's about 600-700 pounds for these skids, so we have a forklift that we use to move this stuff around. Alright, the first step in making either strips or sheets is we take our raw boards and cut them to length. And we have a real old antique Sears Craftsman radial arm saw, which is ideally suited for that job. It's hard to cut these wide boards on chop saws, or it's impossible on a table saw. But with a radial arm, you can lay the board down, slide it through, and cut it to length. And we just use a simple stop block to adjust the length either for 16-inch or 24-inch pieces. So from there we take the rough boards and run them through a planer. We need to have one smooth side if we're doing sheets, and both sides smooth if we're going to cut it down into strips. And we just use basically an off-the-shelf DeWalt planer. Works great. We run them until they die, and then we buy another one. For cutting strips, we have a programmable gang saw. What do you call this thing?
The big machine.
The big machine, okay. So for cutting strips, we use this machine that we lovingly call the big machine for lack of another name. And it's a twin blade programmable saw. So we can program how thick of a slice of wood we want to cut off from these boards. And it cuts very precisely. It can hold a tolerance down to about 1/1000th of an inch. And when it's running, it just goes back and forth, feeds down, cuts off slices. When it gets to the bottom, it automatically raises itself up and stops. As we're cutting, we'll be doing quality checks through the whole time it's cutting, and making sure that the sizes are what we want and the wood quality is what we want. So the big saw will produce these strips. We call them flats. These are all cut to the thickness of the wood that we need to cut into a strip. So this will be the height of the wood. Then it goes on to this machine. This is a very cool machine and does the bulk of our work. It's a gang saw, so it has a variety of blades that we put in it that are built up to cut a specific size. The wood is simply fed into the saw. It's got a set of feed rollers, pulls the wood through, and cuts it very precisely again to the size that we need. When using this machine, we do a lot of quality checking as the wood's being cut. And probably about 30 or 40% of the wood is rejected, because we try and keep a pretty high quality standard with our wood. So the gang saw blades are built up for all the popular sizes that we produce. We have a chart here that shows all the combinations of wood thicknesses for HO, O, and S, and N, or whatever else we're cutting. And the saws are built up onto an arbor with multiple blades. Each blade has a spacer in between it that we can adjust to get the thickness that we want. This is the bulk of the value of the company, is right there on these blades. These things cost a small fortune. Each blade is about $75, and we have many, many dozens of them in our inventory. For cutting sheets, our basswood sheets that we do in 4 and 6 inch widths, we start by resawing the material on this Delta bandsaw. This bandsaw has been heavily reworked with custom equipment added to it. It allows us to program the thickness that we want the sheets to be cut to. It has a vacuum suction table that it works incredibly well. When you take a piece of wood, stick it to the table, turn it on, it sucks the wood tight up against it and it cannot come off. It's pretty impressive. We program how thick we want the sheets, leaving some extra material on to sand down the sheets to the final size. We simply just let it run and chop away through the wood. So once the sheets have been resawn on the bandsaw, we sand them down to size on a belt sander. If we're doing dimensional sheets, we will sand them to the final size on here. We can sand them down pretty accurately to about 1/32 of an inch thick. If we're going to use the sheets for shaped material, we only sand one side, so it'll stick to a suction table, and we shape the other side. So the final step in doing adding a profile to these sheets is this shaper. And again, it's a heavily built, custom-made machine that does just that job, and it does it quite well. The sheets are held onto a suction table, same like they were on the bandsaw. It holds them very solid as they're fed through the shaper. It's a very loud machine, so we have to wear lots of hearing equipment or safety equipment when we're operating it. And it's pretty fascinating to watch. It's responsible for filling up our dust collector more than anything else, because it really can produce a lot of stuff. So this is Murphy, this is the dust collector. It gathers up as much dust as we can throw into it. One thing that we produce here at Mount Albert is sawdust and scrap wood in great quantities. So course of a couple of days, we'll fill 2 50-gallon barrels with sawdust, and they have to be manually dumped into a dumpster. Back into it. It's one. This one's really full.
Maybe not.
They're actually not that heavy. They're quite easy to lift. I think fully loaded they're about 40 or 50 pounds. Oh man.